Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to configure virtual machine settings in Hyper-V. This task is very similar to Lab 8 of Microsoft Official Academic Course Installation, Storage and Compute with Windows Server 2016 Lab Manual Exam 70-740. First I will create a virtual machine, then I will show how to manage virtual machine memory and smart paging. Then I will import and export virtual machines. Then I will implement some of the security options for Hyper-V. And finally, I will configure non-uniform memory access or NUMA support. In this exercise, I will need two machines. One is the domain controller and the other one is server 1. Hyper-V is a type 1 hypervisor from Microsoft. That means you can install Hyper-V directly on hardware. However, in this demo, I installed Hyper-V role in server 1. In the first part of this demo, I will create a virtual machine in Hyper-V. So I log into server 1. From the server manager's tools menu, I run Hyper-V manager. Then I create a new virtual machine and name is at VM1. For startup memory, I select 1 GB and enable dynamic memory for this virtual machine. I allocate 60 GB for the hard drive space. For the installation options, I mount Windows Server 2016 installation disk.iso image that I stored on the domain controller and shared on the network. Then I finish creating the virtual machine. That is the end of part 1, creating a virtual machine. While creating the virtual machine, I allocated 1 GB initial memory. In this exercise, I will change the virtual machine memory and configure smart paging settings. On server 1, I go to Hyper-V Manager, right click on VM1 and choose Settings. I go to Memory option and change the memory from 1 GB to 2 GB. Then I change the minimum RAM from 512 MB to 1 GB. Then I go to Smart Paging File Location and check out the paging file location. That is the end of part 2, managing virtual machine memory. Sometimes you need identical or almost identical virtual machines. Creating a virtual machine from the scratch can be time consuming as compared to creating a copy of a virtual machine and applying necessary changes. In this part of the task, I will make a copy of virtual machine 1 and save it as virtual machine 2. Then I will be able to use virtual machine 2 independent of virtual machine 1. From the file explorer of server 1, I create a new folder called BAK for backup. Then from the Hyper-V manager, I right-click on Virtual Machine 1 and choose Export. For the file location, I specify the BAK folder that I created before and export the virtual machine. I right-click on server 1 and choose Import Virtual Machine. I go through the Import Virtual Machine wizard, and on the Location folder page, I browse to the folder where I exported the virtual machine, and on the Select Virtual Machine page, I select Virtual Machine 1. For the import type, I choose Copy Virtual Machine. Then for the destination, I select Store the virtual machine in a different location. For the virtual machine folder, checkpoint folder and smart page folder, I type VM2 folder in C drive. For storage, I also type VM2 folder of C drive and finish the wizard. In this part of the exercise, I will create a new Generation 2 virtual machine and then configure the Hyper-V security options. Generation 2 virtual machines have a simplified virtual hardware model, offers features like better security, higher limit of memory and CPU, and so on. On server 1, I create a new virtual machine from Hyper-V Manager and name it as VM3. I select Generation 2, allocate 1 GB memory and enable dynamic memory. Then I allocate 60 GB of hard drive space. For the installation options, I mount Windows Server 2016 installation disk.iso image that I stored on the domain controller and shared on the network. Then I finish creating the virtual machine. Next, I go to the settings of Virtual Machine 3, go to the Security node, enable Secure Boot, and enable Trusted Platform Module or TPM option. Then I select the option to encrypt state and virtual machine traffic and enable shielding, and then I close settings. That is the end of implementing security options for Hyper-V. In this part of the exercise, I will configure the NUMA or Non-Uniform Memory Access Support settings. NUMA is a method of configuring a cluster of microprocessors in a microprocessing system to share memory locally, improving performance and the ability of the system. In the Hyper-V Manager of Server 1, I go to Hyper-V settings. Then I go to NUMA spanning and make sure that Allow Virtual Machines to Span Physical NUMA Nodes option is selected. Then I go to Settings of Virtual Machine 3 and under the Processor node, I click NUMA. Then I click on the Use Hardware Topology button and close the settings window. That is the end of configuring NUMA support and the end of the demo. I hope you found this video helpful. If you would like to receive notifications on future videos, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and set up notification by tapping on the bell. Thank you for watching.